everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of TED Excellence, the show in which we discover the boundaries of science on the basis of gender, I guess. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again to Thursday. Tempestuous Thursday. Yes, we return once again to the wonderful, wily, weird world of off-brand TED Talks. And boy, oh boy, is there a story behind this one today. But I'll get to that momentarily. Who is joining me on this beautiful Thursday evening? Jaeger Pony, hello. John Kelly, hello. Matt Barnes, hello. Nothing to see here, hello. Enigma 500, hello, because the other 499 enigmas have been solved. Zeke Weiss, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Mike R, hello. Texas Attorney General Secret Agent, hello. Jamie Milquist, hello. Check Your Logic, hello. Bridget, hello. Data Wasteland, hello. The Useless Cook, hello. Who else is here? Oh, and then chat jumped because of course it did. Deco, hello. Non-Vitae Rex, hello. Ryan Reynolds, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. Zem, let's go, hello. Mike Savage, blarg. Big Dave, 1066, hello. Jack Frost, 7548, hello. Hello. What a wonderful word, hello. Yeah, so tonight's selection. It's kind of an odd story. As I usually do on a Wednesday, I will go to the TEDx YouTube channel and take a look at what are the new offerings on TEDx, or what has been dropped over the last week since the previous TED Excellence. And a lot of stuff was dropped, of course, but a lot of it was either in languages other than English, or was a lot of TEDx youth stuff, or was a lot of stuff that was relatively short, like 5 or 6 minutes. And even though there was a title here or there that kind of caught my attention, I just felt like there was nothing really jumped out at me. Nothing really sort of, stuck in my brain and made me think, there was one or two things that I thought, oh, that might be interesting. And then I listened to the sound quality and it was terrible. I'm like, no. So when that happens, I go to the archive. I have a whole bunch of listings of TEDx's that at one time or another looked interesting, and so I made sure to make note of them to possibly come back to in the future. And I was looking through the list, and I found this one because I thought it was a very clever title. It's the kind of title that I might put on a thumbnail or something. All right, SySTEMic misogyny: why gender gaps exist for Nobel Prizes. But there's another story to this. You see, this TEDx was posted sometime about a year ago. And at the time, I never watched it. I never did a TEDx on it. But the title of it caught my attention enough that I read the description of the video at that time. And in the description, it describes the speaker's academic background. And I left a comment a year ago, which Keeverdam helpfully posted onto Twitter earlier today. So I thought I'd share that with you. Now, again, I have not watched this video. I do not know what our speaker is going to say. But a year ago, I was snarky enough to post this. Question: why do gender gaps exist for Nobel Prizes? Speaker: major in management, concentrating in leadership and innovation, and women and gender studies. Answer: personal choices. Yes, that was my snarky comment from a year ago. Now, that may be a spoiler alert unintentionally for whatever our speaker may say, but I don't know what she's going to say. I was just being a smartass. So there you go. So obviously I'm going into this with a little bit of a suspicious bias, but I could be proven wrong. It's possible. It's entirely possible. But until we get to that, the bingo card tonight is bingo card A. A as in, what was the guy's name I used for the bingo card? I found 3 different Nobel Prize winners whose first name started with either A, B, or C. That was my brilliant idea. Ardem Patapushan. I'm probably butchering that name, but Ardem Patapushan. There you go. So get your bingo cards ready. Links to the bingo cards are in the description. A programming note, which I'll remind at the end of the show on the off chance you don't make it all the way there. There will be no Sunday stream on Sunday this coming Sunday morning because I will be off with Sister Scribe visiting our parents. I'll be back sometime Sunday afternoon. I may do a stream sometime Sunday anyway. Maybe. So if you want to have some notice of that, please follow me on Twitter. You can find my Twitter in the description. You can find it on the screen right now, or it's just at scribe_light. So there you go. A couple more hellos, and then we'll get into it. Tier Alexander, the Invictus Soul, hello. Kyle Mack, hello. Who else is here? Anybody else I missed? Resolute Jern, hello. John Miller, hello. Attack Alpaca, hello. And if I missed you, Tall Person, hello, if I didn't already. And Shell D, hello. If I missed you or you're lurking, hello, hello. All right, so let's get into it. Start off with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed.
Last year, I
didn't get to sleep at all. No. Okay. Let me know if you guys can hear that. Somebody said I should make this a musical tonight, so I'm trying in my own small way. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Scribe, you're snarky. Say it ain't so, and we're not snarky here in chat. Yeah, you guys aren't snarky at all. Yeah, like does not attract like around here at all, does it? Chicago Mike says, sounds good. Mike R says, sounds good. Texas Attorney General Secret Agent says, loud and clear, good buddy. All right there. And Lexi Mads, hello, I'm here. Can we start over? You know, that's a running gag around here. It has been. For those of you that haven't been here a while, when Lexi Mad shows up, I have to, start over the whole show because she's like, the show can't start without her. But I have run that joke so far into the ground, I'm not going to do it anymore. Okay? I'm just not. Okay, I mean, it has been a while since I've done that, okay? I'm not going to do it all the time. Seriously, I'm not. Anyway, last year, so this was posted in 2021, so I'm assuming we're talking about 2020. Well, it all depends. Sometimes TEDx talks are posted long after they actually took place, so hopefully they'll give us a date if I didn't already miss it.
Last year, I served as the first student government president in 10 years at Bryant University.
Well, congratulations.
With that title came a set of unspoken pressure to set a positive expectation for what women can achieve at a school that has historically seen leadership as male-centric.
Why don't you just set an example for what you can achieve, since you do not represent a demographic? But okay.
I'll never forget the first time I learned about the lack of women Nobel laureates.
Actually, speaking of which, let's go to the bingo card, because that kind of reminds me, hey, that might be a bingo square already. Let me get all my little things set up here. I didn't get the... All right, let's see. So bingo card, collectivize his own demographic right there in the top corner. Let's just circle that one right off the bat. And I will circle free space, because we'll eventually get there anyway. I'll go over the rest of the card later, but I just wanted to get that one off the plate early.
It became clear that there wasn't a lack of successful women interested in STEM, but instead a lack of structural change that has hindered the ability of women to attain success at the same rate as men.
Okay, so going back to my comment originally from last year, it's not about personal choice. It's that the system is preventing women from succeeding in STEM, even though you said successful women from getting into STEM. Well, I mean, either they're successful in STEM or they're not, but either way. Okay, so it's not choice, it's system. And system is also systemic, so where's systemic institutional? There it is, right next to collectivized zone demographic. All right, we've already got 3 squares on the board circled, and we're only 30 seconds in.
Using the Nobel Prize organization as my measure, my talk will tap into historic barriers to entry for women in STEM, which has resulted in recognition and reward gaps at later phases of their career.
Okay, well, just for my own edification and for the rest of the audience, how many women have won Nobel Prizes of one sort or another? I'm assuming she's talking about Nobel Prizes in science, because there are Nobel Prizes for other things. So let's see. How many women Nobel Prize winners in science? Tell me, Google. Let's see. Well, it says there are 58 women who have been awarded a Nobel Prize out of the more than 900 recipients. Just of all Nobel Prizes? Okay. How many female scientists? Okay. So they seem to be talking about all Nobel Prizes. So out of 900 some odd Nobel Prizes, there have been 58 women in total. Okay. That is a relatively small number. But again, is that systemic? Is that just by circumstance? Matt Barnes, thanks so much. WTF am I listening to? I mean, I know, but it's called a TEDx. It's this sort of like lecture series, presentation series that is sort of an offshoot of a larger organization called TED. And people get up on a stage and sort of like, regional theater kind of things and stand on a circle carpet and they start, doing their that's what that is, Matt Barnes. That's what we're listening to. I don't know. Are you new here? Welcome. Veer Or of Ashmedai, hello.
It's important to note that many researchers have identified that some of these gaps in STEM are closing, but my talk delves into a broader understanding of how we got to where we are in the first place.
A broader understand. Oh, wait, that's sexist, isn't it?
In order to understand the full cycle of what a woman in STEM experiences, it's important to begin at the early stages of development when gender socialization begins to segregate opportunities for young boys and girls.
Oh, gender segregation. Okay. Now, is she going to address personal choice? Is she going to allow for the factor of maybe people aren't interested in it? Is she going at all to include herself in this calculus? Because at least as far as what her educational background was at the time of this presentation, at least as posted in the video notes, she didn't have any educational decisions that dealt with science, or hard sciences, I should say. So, why isn't she in STEM? That'd be my question to her.
This is something called the leaky pipeline, where women begin gravitating away from STEM at different phases of their careers.
Okay.
However, in order for us to understand the leaky pipeline, we have to understand how female and male gender roles and stereotypes act different for boys and girls. Girls are steered to be communally oriented with a focus on interpersonal skills and relationship development, while boys are steered to be autonomous, acquire skills and competence, and get involved in activities that aim at problem solving, power and status, and financial gain.
Steered. Okay, so boys and girls have steering wheels in the back of their heads, and they're being guided towards these things against their own volition. And those elements and attributes that you listed between the two genders that you are assigning both genders, ne'er the twain shall meet. A woman cannot feel like they have to be autonomous or seek financial gain. A man cannot feel communally oriented, as in, say, a protector or a provider. Okay. Thank you, John Miller. She makes a nice feminist cultist. Let's wait. Who knows? Yeah, we're just a minute or two in. Could be otherwise. But yeah, let's go over the bingo card real quick just to remind ourselves what we're keeping our ears open for. Sales pitch for product or service? No. Childhood or family anecdote? Not yet. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'd be surprised if we don't get there. Plays victim? One might say already, but she hasn't referred to herself yet, so I'm going to wait a little bit. Maybe in aggregate, we'll see. Microaggressions, unconscious bias, that's implied already, but I'm going to wait and see if she uses the words. Privilege, not yet. Contradicts own point or argument, not yet. Patriarchy, it's implied. Weightless example, not yet. Wage gap, well, you're talking about a Nobel Prize gap. I mean, and there are monetary allowances for those prizes, so maybe. Feminism, probably. Marginalization, it's implied. A list, you know what? That's a list. On the board right now, that is a formal list. It might not be a numbered list, but it's a card with bullet points. I'll take that as a list. White supremacy, no. Word salad, not yet. Self-vilification or wretchedness, I'd be surprised. Argumentative non sequitur, Not yet. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase? No. Mind reading assumes motives? I'd be surprised if we don't get there. Benevolent condescension? We'll see. Anecdote that probably never happened? Not yet. And leaves out vital context? We shall see. Okay, so far we have on the board collectivizes zone demographics, systemic institutional, free space, and a list. Let's go.
How many people have heard the stereotype that girls aren't good at math or don't like science?
I've heard it. I remember most particularly from a Barbie doll that said, math is hard. And that was a big controversy at the time. A talking Barbie doll that said, math is hard. There was a big uproar over that. Yeah, so, I've heard it before, but they are stereotypes. Thank you again, Matt Barnes. I blame Mary Curie and Jane Goodall's clear failures at science on the patriarchy. Yeah. See, if women have gotten the Nobel Prize, even if it's a small number, that means that there's nothing stopping women from getting the Nobel Prize. Unless you're going to say that all the Nobel Prizes handed out to women were just sort of, consolation prizes or handed out as pity or something. So I'm curious to see what she says about that.
Yep, a few people in the audience. Well, both men and women hold these viewpoints. However, researchers have...
Says you, a few people in... Wait, you were doing a straw poll of your audience, and only a few people raised their hands, and yet you're going to say that everybody and their brother... I don't know. Does that count? Does a failed straw poll count as a weightless example? Let me think about that one for a minute.
People in the audience. Well, both men and women hold these viewpoints. However, researchers have disputed them. A professor of ethics named Mary Feeney at the University of Arizona said that studies show that girls and women avoid STEM education not because of their cognitive inability, but because of early exposure and experience with STEM.
Not because of their cognitive ability, because of early exposure to STEM. Okay, well, what's wrong with early exposure to STEM? Did they just decide they don't like it? Like, I had early exposure to asparagus, and I still don't like asparagus. So is that a failure of the system? Or is that my own personal preference? Did the grocer's aisle fail me?
This is further emphasized by a Microsoft study that showed that if girls even have one female role model to look up to and inspire them, that their interest in STEM fields nearly doubled.
Oh, okay. So who was Mary Curie's role model? I don't know. Maybe it was a woman. I don't know. But, I mean, not many people were doing what Mary Curie was doing as a female back when she was doing it. So, but now we're back into the... I can't see myself doing it unless I see someone who is like me doing it theory, which would prevent anybody from doing anything ever if they're not the first to do it. I don't know.
In the United States, girls are not socialized or taught that they're born with brilliance while men are.
Men are told they're born with brilliance and women are not. Have you ever seen, my good Lord, do you know how much, how often, how easily men's intelligence is denigrated in this society? Have you ever watched a comedy movie or anything? You know how the dumb male is just the standard thought about men? You know how easily it is to make fun of men and their intelligence, and it usually rolls off of men's backs? Whereas if you make fun of a woman's intelligence, society gets all nuts. I go back to the talking Barbie example. I know this is old, ancient history, but there was a talking Barbie at a time. And one of the phrases she said was, math is hard. And it was a huge deal. Right? Okay. Really? Okay, well, you lost me on that one. Is that a weightless example? I don't know.
That means that when kids are younger, they understand these stereotypes, internalize these stereotypes before test performance differences can be identified.
Okay, mind reading assumes motives. She assumes to know what kids think when kids internalize. Yeah, okay, that's great. Thank you again, Matt Barnes. I'm so bright, my mother called me Sonny. For fuck's sake. Thank you, Matt Barnes. Thank you so much. Chicago Mike, yes, indeed. Thank you so much. Mind reading, indeed. Mind reading. You're going to assume to know what other people think, and you're telling your audience what they should think or what they do think. Yeah. It's like that old rule in lawyering. Do not ask a witness a question you don't already know the answer to, because you never know what you're going to get. Yeah.
Another factor that widens the interest widens the interest gap in STEM is parental and peer influence.
Oh.
Parents influence their kids in a variety of ways through advice, resources available like toys, and access to and exposure to activities and resources.
So parents classically tell their daughters, "You're stupid." And parents classically just tell their sons automatically, "You're brilliant." Oh, okay.
Parents who believe their children are good at a particular STEM subject and support their competencies predict a higher performance in the class for that child.
Oh, wow, gosh. Encouragement of a kid into something they're interested in? Wow, okay. Seems kind of obvious to me. But there are bad parents out there. It's true, but okay.
However, if parents believe that their child is not good at a particular STEM subject and don't enforce support, there is a negative correlation to the child's performance in the classroom.
What if they're not good at it? Like naturally not good? Like I can do math, if I need to. I don't like to do complicated math stuff. One of my first jobs out of college was working with payments and having to calculate prorated payments and things like that on a monthly or weekly basis and all that jazz. And I had to learn how to do those calculations in my head, even though I hate math. So, I could do it. When put to the test, I had the ability. I just didn't have the interest. What if the kid honestly isn't interested in a thing? What then?
In a 2017 study, researchers sought to understand how peers could be a source of both exclusionary and inclusionary messages in the classroom.
Really? A 2017 study decided to figure out what peer pressure was? Okay.
What they discovered was higher exposure to 8th grade male peers displaying explicit STEM or gender bias negatively predicted girls' futures intentions to pursue STEM careers.
Whoa, wait, I need to hear that again. Say that again.
Messages in the classroom. What they discovered was higher exposure to 8th grade male peers
higher exposure to 8th grade male peers
displaying explicit STEM or gender bias negatively predicted girls' futures intentions to pursue STEM careers.
Okay, so girls have no agency when it comes to boys' interactions with them. If a boy makes fun of a girl over being a nerd, which of course never happens to boys, by the way, then girls will just throw up their hands and give up. Okay.
However, on the flip side, exposure to higher confident female peers in the science classroom positively predicted girls' future intentions.
Okay, so the lesson there is that you should segregate boys and girls one from the other so that there is no negative male influence on girls, right? I mean, all girls should go to just an all-girls school, and then you won't have that problem. So the boys are actively holding back the girls simply by existing. Or so, are you advocating for gender segregation in the classroom or not? Because now I'm confused.
Mothers more than fathers apply gender stereotypes to math and science. However, what's funny is that young adolescent girls look to their mothers for motivation to pursue STEM careers.
Oh, it's mom's fault? Oh, okay. So mom is to blame for making their daughters not be interested in STEM subjects. Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. So so the dads. So wait. When boys are young and girls are young, boys discourage girls from science, and girls internalize that and don't do science. But once they've grown up, the fathers do encourage. Are you going to talk about the fathers at all? But okay, we'll set the fathers aside for a second. But the women The mothers actively discourage their daughters from STEM. So mothers are as bad as 8th grade boys when it comes to encouraging young girls to go into STEM. Or worse, because, they're the mother. Wow, I'm learning so much today.
A study done by the Royal Society of Chemistry in London in 2006 sought to see how these stereotypes kind of penetrate into the university experience. In a focus group of women doctoral students, they found in their first year at the university, 70% of women indicated that they planned a career in research.
A research of what? I mean, I can plan a career in researching archaeological dig sites or something. You going to tell us what kind of research?
However, when revisiting that same focus group 3 years later, only 37% were found to be pursuing the same degree.
What degree? There's a lot of things one could research that are not hard science Nobel Prize territory. Leaves out vital context. Circle in that one. I have a feeling she's not going to clarify. If I'm wrong, I will take it back, but sure seems like it.
Researchers have attributed this to, again, the lack of female role models and mentors available for women throughout their academic careers, which leads to lower self-confidence in women doctoral students and less job security in comparison to male peers.
So women can only be inspired by women. All women are sexist when it comes to role models or inspirational figures in their lives. A man cannot inspire a woman, and I assume then vice versa. Okay. Thank you, Matt Barnes. Again, my wife and sisters-in-law were so held back compared to my brothers-in-law that they all have degrees in science. Also, Scribe, bring on the gender affinity groups. Well, first off, thanks so much for the donation. Secondly, yeah, it's the same thing as the argument that that we've seen in so many of these presentations before and other presentations in regards to education in the classroom. If you have a white teacher, then students of color won't feel like they could ever be teachers. And as I always ask, well, how do you solve for that problem? The only way you solve for that problem is by, racial segregation. So in this case, girls can't be inspired unless they see girls in positions of authority or whatever. Well, then the only way you can assure that and increase their likelihood of success in life, obviously, is to segregate the boys from the girls. I mean, if you have studies that prove that girls will do better academically if they have female peers and female role models, why wouldn't you be advocating for gender segregation in the classroom? I mean, if it's a proven fact, why would you want to even risk giving your students a disadvantage, an inherent disadvantage by mixing the genders? I mean, I don't know what else that she would be arguing for here. Also, hello, Ebony Williams, Assassin of the Gray. Hello. All right, so let's go.
Even with comparable age, experience, and publications, studies have shown that men were found to be 2.5 times more likely to come up to the full rank of professor compared to female peers.
Why? Is that just because the system deems it so, or is that because of personal choices and academic pursuits? Is there anything... I don't know. Is there anything that oftentimes happens within the lifespan of a woman that might distract them from fully committing to an academic career that might, generally take them to the heights of a Nobel Prize? Is there anything that, some kind of personal choice that comes up, or some sort of even a happy accident? Can you think of anything? Are you going to bring that up at all in the course of this? Also, are you going to at all mention your own academic choices by any chance?
This leads us to the prestige gap, which found that men are overrepresented in elite PhD programs.
Overrepresented? How do you figure that? Why are they overrepresented? Right? Okay. And I've said this before, and I will say it until the end of time. A disparity does not inherently indicate an inequity. How do you know that they are overrepresented? What if it is exactly the right percentage based on personal choices and academic careers? I wait for you to prove that it is an over-representation.
One of the number one factors for this is that women self-select out for three main reasons.
Oh, self-select out. Self-select. Okay, so they do have agency. They do have agency in this. It is a choice. Well, I'm glad at least that you're acknowledging that possibility. But at the same time, I have to think that these self-selections are still going to be categorized as attacks, or that still makes women victims of their own decisions.
They perceive their abilities to be inadequate compared to their male peers.
They perceive. So it's a self-esteem issue. Okay, well, the operative word in self-esteem is self.
The environment of the program is unfriendly or unsupportive to women.
How? I hope she expands on that. Exactly how specifically to women is it unfriendly?
And there's a culture of fear of failure that disproportionately affects women in STEM compared to men.
Disproportionately. Again, you're going to have to explain how you know it's disproportionate, especially when you're talking about people's feelings about themselves or their situations. And you're not bringing up parenthood. You're not bringing up raising a family. I mean, of all the life decisions that might happen upon themselves in a woman's life, you're not going to bring up deciding to drop out of pursuing an academic career to raise a family, or to sideline it at least. That might stunt their progress compared to a man who just continues on going. I don't know. Okay.
Since 1975, there's been a 13% increase in the amount of women who are getting PhDs in physics. However, when we tie in the Nobel Prize organization, we know that a number of these people who are winning Nobel Prizes are getting awarded for work early on in their careers, when now they're senior scientists working at elite academic institutions.
Whoa. What? I'm about to hit word salad on that one. Okay, let's try that again. I need to break that down.
In the amount of women who are
Okay, sorry, let me back up a little bit.
Fear of failure that disproportionately affects women in STEM compared to men. Since 1975, there's been a 13% increase in the amount of women who are getting PhDs in physics.
A 13% increase in the amount of women who are getting PhDs in physics. Okay.
However, when we tie in the Nobel Prize organization,
tying in how?
We know that a number of these people who are winning Nobel Prizes
the number of people who are winning these Nobel Prizes in physics
are getting awarded for work early on in their career.
Are getting awarded for work early on in their careers. Okay.
When now they're senior scientists working at elite academic institutions.
Well, what?
Knowing the barriers to entry that push women out of STEM.
Whoa, okay. I paused game that about as best as I could to try to break down that statement. Does that make any sense to anybody else? And I'm honestly asking, I'm not being facetious. I don't understand what that says about anything. All right, so there's been an increase in women getting PhDs in physics, and Nobel Prizes are awarded for work done early in one's careers, and then they go on to be... What? And I'm asking honestly, I'm going to the chat here. Okay, you guys, tell me, did I miss something? I broke down that statement bit by bit. Yvonne says, the Riddler. Mike R says, nope. Chicago Mike says, not I. Zeke Weiss, Faithless says, hi, Jaeger Pony. Well, that works too. Zeke Weiss says, nope, not a damn clue what she means. Replay says Ryan R. Okay, I'll replay it one more time in its entirety, just to make sure we have it in its fullness.
Adequate compared to their male peers. The environment of the program is unfriendly or unsupportive to women. And there's a culture of fear of failure that disproportionately affects women in STEM compared to men. Since 1975, there's been a 13% increase in the amount of women who are getting PhDs in physics. However, when we tie in the Nobel Prize organization, we know that a number of these people who are winning Nobel Prizes are getting awarded for work early on in their careers, when now they're senior scientists working at elite academic institutions.
All right. Her next statement had better clarify, or else I'm circling word salad.
Knowing the barriers to entry that push women out of STEM before they reach senior status may factor in to see who is important enough to win a Nobel Prize.
If they're getting awarded for things they did early in their careers, then doesn't it become irrelevant as to whether or not by the time they get the award, they're in senior positions? Because they would have already done it early in their careers. Again, am I missing something? And again, what does that have to do with women specifically? I mean, if a man does the exact same thing in whatever measurement you're doing here, doesn't he have just as much or as less of a chance to get a Nobel Prize as a woman? You're talking about, personal merit in the course of one's career. You're not talking about it's against women specifically. You're talking about the factors that make up an individual's career in physics, I guess, specifically. So I'm circling word salad. I have absolutely no idea what that was supposed to say about anything. And the point, if there was one, just went whew. So if I am wrong, if I've missed something in that statement that's obvious, by all means, leave a comment in the description, those of you listening in the future, but I'm going to move on.
UNESCO found that only 30% of the world's researchers are women, and this matters because even though universities are getting increasingly diverse faculty and staff, there are still barriers in the promotion process. Specifically, there are fewer tenure track positions filled by women and men, which essentially means that they're not...
Whoa. First off, diversity, equity, and conclusion. She said diverse, circling that one. Women and men? Wait a second. What?
UNESCO found that only 30% of the world's researchers are women.
Only 30% of the world's researchers. Researchers in what? You can research anything. Are you talking specifically about physics? Did I miss the point where she framed this entire thing around physics? Just researchers. Okay, 30% of the researchers are women. Okay.
And this matters because even though universities are getting increasingly diverse faculty and staff,
even though universities are getting increasingly diverse faculty and staff, and by diverse, I assume you mean simply on the basis of gender in this case, which says nothing about one's ability, but okay, yeah.
There are still barriers in the promotion process. Specifically, there are fewer tenure track positions filled by women and men.
Fewer tenure track positions filled by women and men?
Which essentially means that they're not equally represented at the university level.
Represented. Okay. Are tenured positions and academic positions within a college a representative process? Or are they a merit-based process? Do I get into a college and become a professor because I'm being elected there in order to represent my gender? Or do I get there because I have the credentials necessary to do the job? When did an academic position at J. Random College become a representative process? Thank you again, Matt Barnes. Girl I went from K to 12 with was our valedictorian. We knew she would be in first grade. She got a full academic scholarship to Harvard and is a professor, cringe, at Stanford today. Stanford! Dun, dun, dun. I haven't done a video about specifically Stanford stuff in a while. That YouTube channel doesn't post much of anything anymore, where they did the Stanford studies and all that. For those of you that don't know, I have a playlist on my channel called A Stanford Education, and it's all these academics associated with Stanford and the amazing things they have to say about stuff. So if you're ever curious about that. And also, hello, Angela Arriaga. She's saying that women are leaving the field because they are not receiving the recognition to get those secured positions in academia. Okay, but she said it was also men, too. Or did I miss something? Thank you again, Mike R. Barriers to women leaves out vital context. I already circled leaves out vital context for something else. But yes, she has not explained so far specifically what is being targeted at women. So far, if I had to be very cynical about it, it sounds more like women think that this is too hard to do, so they're dropping out. Or the requirements necessary to achieve this thing are rigorous, and so women feel like they're being kept out, which, depending on how you look at it, doesn't really say much about your opinion of women, but that's maybe my interpretation. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Leaves out vital context. Well, you guys are just on it. You guys are just on. Leaves out vital context. It's already circled. It's already circled. I promise. And I promise you. Okay.
Women's untapped human capital could enhance the STEM workforce, given that they are 50% of the American population.
Wow, they're 50% of the American. Actually, they're more than 50%. But anyway,
more than 50% of its college-bound population.
Yes. Okay. So if it was just an equitable matter of population demographics, why aren't more women in there? You're saying it's specifically because of sexualized barriers in the process. Are you going to allow for personal choice outside of some conspiracy theory? Are you going to bring up having and raising a family? Are you going to bring up what have been documented natural inclinations between the genders? Not guaranteed inclinations, but common inclinations between the genders as to what they find interesting or what they pursue professionally. If you're not going to at least mention or entertain an argument conflicting with your own, and then, surmount that argument with your own evidence, then it doesn't sound like you're being a serious presenter, for lack of a better phrase, because I ran out of words, which is odd for me because I'm an English major. Keeverdam, did you circle leaves out vital context yet? It almost feels like another running gag is being created right before me here. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. And thank you again, Matt Barnes. Bye. Leaves out vital context, scribe. Okay, guys. Thanks so much. And Ebony Williams puts it succinctly, but do women want to go into STEM fields? Yes. Can you do a survey of women and find out their interest in whatever subjects that they're actually wanting to pursue, absent a preconceived notion that anything that isn't STEM is obviously the result of a boy making fun of them or their mother being discouraging? Are you going to allow that women have their own agency from time to time? Thank you, John Miller. The context, she ain't got it. Is it just going to be like variants on the same statement? Okay. All right. I get it. I can circle. I tell you what, I'll circle it a couple of times just for the fun of it. I will mark the occasion literally. If I can do this, I actually have to, let's see. I'll make it look like a little bullseye. How's that? Yeah. As many times as you guys have decided to tell me this. Okay. That, and how about one more? There we go. Okay. It's super circled now. It's super circled.
However, still, a 2010 study found that only 18% of engineering and science workforce was comprised of white women, and that gap gets even wider for Black and Hispanic men and women, who make up less than 4% each.
Implicitly sounds like white supremacy to me. And you know what? I'm also going to circle patriarchy because she's talking about male-dominated this, that, and the other, and obviously keeping women down. And I think it's also impossible not to circle feminism in the course of this because, this is one of those cases where they kind of go hand in hand. All right. So as a reminder, so far I've circled on the board, just so everybody knows, collectivize his own demographic, systemic, institutional, diversity, equity, and inclusion, patriarchy, free space, feminism, a list, white supremacy, word salad, mind reading assumes motives, and leaves out vital context, 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 and, leaves out vital context. Just so you know.
This needs to be tied back to why women struggle to enroll in PhD programs, which is where this divergence occurs. Oh,
why do women struggle to get into PhD programs, even though you told us that there's been a steady increase in women getting PhDs over the last, since 1975? It's kind of a wide berth, but okay.
There was a reluctance of some faculty to mentor women candidates because they're more likely to leave the program to start a family. But this has been disputed by researchers because if adequate resources and accommodations were provided to women to have a proper work-life balance, they could have a career and a family at the same time.
Oh, so women, it's like, I can't keep up with my academic career because I'm going to go have a kid. How dare you? We've given you all the resources necessary to do both at the same time. And even though we've given you the resources to do both at the same time, obviously the time that you have chosen to take out of your life to raise your children in related to a man who does not creates no deficit in career opportunities or advancement at all. Personal choice. So wait, women saying that they're going to do this and raise a family, they don't have an excuse, is what you're saying, because colleges aren't giving them any excuses to choose to do differently? Did I hear that right? Keeverdam makes something about race. Well, okay, we don't have that square anymore, but argumentative non sequitur. Yeah. Okay, let's wait a little bit, see if she somehow ties it in. Well, no, actually, race. She's talking about gender. No, you're right. Argumentative non sequitur. Yeah, this wasn't about race until just then, and it still has nothing to do with her main point. So you're correct. You are correct, as Ed McMahon used to say. Oh boy, man! If at the rate we're going, I don't know. Is a blackout in our future? I don't know.
This brings up the question of public versus private sphere. There was a period of time where women could not attend U.S. universities unless they were students or teachers, and their primary duty was to stay home, handle family and household duties, while men were able to participate in the public sphere and get access to better life and work opportunities.
Wait. They couldn't attend universities unless they were students or teachers? Why else would you Wait. Say that again?
Provided to women to have a proper work-life balance, they could have a career and a family at the same time. This brings up the question of public versus private sphere.
Public versus private sphere. I can't recall that I've ever taken the time to break down individual statements by a speaker in a TEDx. I mean, it's been a long time if I have at all, but this is definitely the most often I've done it.
There was a period of time where women could not attend U.S. universities unless they were students or teachers.
What? Have I just lost my mind for a second here? Under what other circumstances would anyone attend a university? What?
And their primary duty was to stay home, handle family and household duties, while men were able to participate in the public sphere and get access to better life and work opportunities.
Yes. The 50s, Ozzie and Harriet. Yes, the stereotypical. Yeah. Yes, the past was different than the now. You are very correct. You are very, very correct. And the question is, so what? Okay.
This perpetuated inequalities for women because a lot of scientific knowledge comes from research organized in the public sphere, and knowing that women were confined to the private sphere, they weren't able to have that knowledge, and instead they weren't valued the same as men.
Yes. Before the sexual revolution, before second wave feminism, which was actually a positive step for society, yes, things were different in the past, and they are not that way now. So what?
This brings up the question of respect and appreciation when looking at men and women.
Respect and appreciation. Okay, well, respect, as they say, is earned, not demanded. It can be demanded. I guess it depends. Thank you, Matt Barnes. That time remains today for females and males. Can we add dimwit to the card? No, I'm not going to add dimwit to the card. That's insulting. I try to avoid ad hominems when doing these things, but thank you, Matt Barnes. I'm circling weightless example. She's going to talk about, she hasn't yet described specifically what is preventing women from getting a Nobel Prize today. I mean, the title of the talk, and it is her title. It was on the card when she started her presentation. She needs to tell us why the Nobel Prize Committee is sexist, to put it bluntly. Okay, because there are women scientists out there. There are women with PhDs. There are women doing research in science. You know, there's also Nobel Prizes for things that aren't hard sciences, but apparently those don't count here, but whatever. So why isn't she telling us how the Nobel selection process is sexist? Because we know women scientists exist. The Nobel Prize Committee could give Nobel Prizes to women every year and completely ignore men if they wanted to. Okay.
When we talk about male scientists and experts, we're more likely to use their surnames, where with women, we're more likely to use their first names.
What does that have to do with anything? Is that true? How do you know this? What study proved that? How people refer to each other? I mean, if I say Albert Einstein and Marie Curie, do I just say Einstein? I mean, I can, and most people know what I'm talking about. If I say Curie, people know what I'm talking about. What? Thank you again, Matt Barnes. Apology scribe. I was being facetious and a bit of a jerk. No, it's fine. No. You don't have to apologize. You're apologizing to me for being facetious and a bit of a jerk. Do you know who I am? Like a celebrity being pulled over by a cop. Don't you know who I am? You're fine, Matt. Thank you so much. You're fine. I didn't mean to come across as harsh if that's how you took it. So I apologize to you. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Did you circle argumentative non sequitur too? Also leaves out vital context. Yes. Argumentative non sequitur has been circled, or make something about race, sex, etc., as it used to be called. And yes, leaves out vital context has been circled. Heck, you know what? I'm going to circle it 3 more times. I'm going to circle it 3 more times just because I want to make sure that I don't leave anything to chance here. Okay, so let's see. We do that, and I'm going to keep circling it. I'm going to circle it. And there we go. 1 more time. How many times do I want to circle this? Yeah. How about? Okay. All right. I think I got it covered. I might just be in good shape. Okay. All right. So that being done.
This matters because in a research study done, when people are analyzing 2 candidates, specifically men and women, people view somebody with their surname as 14% more deserving of a career award compared to those who use first names.
Really? I would love to know what study that is. So as a researcher and professional, you're going to provide a citation, right?
Women are more likely to be seen or judged based on their physical appearance and personal information compared to men. And women's research takes twice as long to move through the review process, and they have to score 2.5 times higher on an index of publication report to be judged the same as men.
Because you say so? Like I'm trying to. They're not actually showing the cards here. I don't know if they're going to show this card. Studies found. And there are no citations. Well, how many studies? What studies? How were the studies conducted? These are the questions I'd be asking if I were a researcher, which I'm not, but those are the ones I would ask. I mean, maybe they're right. I don't know. What was their evidence? You going to tell us?
How many people have heard that the gender gap is closing because the number of women entering STEM is higher?
Oh, pay inequity. We got wage gap. Circling wage gap. Oh my gosh, guys. Oh my gosh. I don't know. We might be on our way to at least a couple of bingos. And in reflection, oh cats, we got a lot of squares circled.
a few people, well.
Don't straw poll your audience if you're not going to accept their response. I'm telling you, it's a bad move. Thank you again, Mike R. Another feminist trying to control thoughts. Shocking. Well, I don't know what to tell you. You need to acknowledge the opposition to your argument. Okay, and I'm not just talking about her. And you've heard me talk about this before in other presentations. If there is a common, or at least an obvious counterpoint to what you're having to say, you have to at least acknowledge its existence, even if you're going to dismiss it. You have to at least allow for the possibility that exists. And so far, she has kind of touched on it, but then said, oh, it doesn't matter. Women seek raising families. Oh, but they have plenty of resources to do both, so it's not even an issue. No. Okay.
That isn't necessarily true, because the number of men entering STEM is also increasing, which means that the number of men and women entering hasn't really changed much at all.
Oh, you mean that in proportion, male to female population rates have kind of stayed the same over the course of time? Okay.
This matters when we look at pay inequity, because 1 year post-graduation from a STEM degree, men and women make about the same amount, but these gaps come 10 to 15 years down the line when men earn about 10% more on average than women.
Earn, you say? Okay, well, I'm glad you at least said earn, right? Earn. Now, what is the connotation behind the notion of earning something? Are you going to acknowledge that? In the course of their careers, I assume then their adult careers, again, are there any possible reasons why, in the course of a female adult's life, they may set aside their academic pursuits for something else, even if they're a dedicated academic? That might, just because of circumstance, give men an advantage if they are focusing on their careers other than something else that might come up, or are required to do so in order to, I don't know, support and provide for certain decisions that might take place in the course of a woman's life. Are you going to acknowledge this? You realize that family and procreation is a natural occurrence amongst humans, right?
However, I want to bring it back really quick to the subconscious gender bias that we see, because this is really where the root structural issue is in terms of the Nobel Prize fielding process.
Subconscious bias, I'll take that as unconscious bias, circling that. And if you have been following along on the bingo card, then you will know that as of right now...
Bingo. What? Of course!
Down the I column, we have our first bingo. Oh my gosh. That's one bingo, and we're not even done with this sucker yet. And I tell you, just looking at some of the squares that are left, if she doesn't say something specific soon, at least in aggregate, I think we got several other squares to circle. So let's keep going.
In a study done on 100 professors in STEM-related fields at 6 U.S. universities, they provided them 2 made-up cover letters with 1 female candidate and 1 male candidate for the same role as laboratory manager. Despite having the same credentials, the professors agreed to pay Jennifer, the female candidate, $4,000 less per year and showed more willingness to mentor John, the male candidate, despite having the same credentials, like I said.
What was the gender makeup of the professors polled? I mean, out of the 100 spread across, what was it, 6 colleges or 60 colleges or something? I'm just curious to know.
And this showed a subconscious gender bias in both male and female faculty members.
Oh, male and female? Okay, so the female faculty members were willing to give John more money than Jennifer. So it's not just a male thing keeping women down, huh? Even accomplished females have that problem. Huh, okay.
Which brings us to the discrepancy in the Nobel Prize.
Oh, now we get to, okay, so out of a 13-minute presentation, it takes us exactly 9 minutes in on my cut of this to get to the Nobel Prize. on a presentation that explicitly talks about the Nobel Prize being the question to pause. Okay.
With 96% probability, there is a bias against women for winning Nobel Prizes, which essentially means that even if women avoid the leaky pipeline, they still do not have equal opportunity to win Nobel Prizes. And this divergence occurs way early on in women's careers when gender socialization are most important.
Okay, so which is it? Is the Nobel Prize Committee sexist, or is the Nobel Prize Committee just dealing with the outcome of a sexist system? And if there is a sexist system, specifically, what is preventing women from becoming Nobel Prize winners? Specifically.
In a recent study, both male and female college students...
Cite the... at least give the source. Can't you just do that in a recent study? A study. One study? If there's only one study, then I don't really put a whole lot of weight into it. Right? Because if it's not being replicated by other sources and other researchers, then it's just one study. And if you can't even cite where this study comes from, I have absolutely no way, even referentially, to weigh its legitimacy or anything. But okay, a study said what?
Failed to list any women scientists or any women Nobel laureates.
Let me try that one again.
Most important. In a recent study, both male and female college students failed to list any women scientists or any women Nobel laureates.
Any? Really? Marie Curie. You can't come up with that one. At least one? I mean, hell, aside from Einstein and Marie Curie and Barack Obama, Henry Kissinger got one, didn't he? Which is ironic all to hell. Are you talking about just in science? Because, there are Nobel Prizes for other things. Or are we going to even talk about that or mention that? Are you going to distinguish one from the other? Thank you again, Chicago Mike. In a recent study, beer is good. Well, my study says beer tastes like soap. That's why I prefer Jack Daniels and Dr. Pepper. But hey, that's just one study. So don't take my word for it. Do-do-do.
And you know what? That pretty much makes sense.
Pretty much? Is that your scientific accuracy scale? Pretty much. All right.
Because from 1901 to 2020, 934 Nobel Prizes have been awarded, and 876 have gone to men, and only 58 have gone to women.
Aha. Well, there's that number again, 58. All right. And so that's purely based on sexism. And are you including all the types of Nobel Prizes? I'm assuming you have to be, even though you've been talking specifically about science.
Of that 58, would it really be my TED Talk if I didn't feature my favorite scientist, which is Madame Curie?
That's your favorite scientist? That's your favorite scientist of all time? No one's come after that? Really? And again, there are Nobel Prize winners who weren't scientists inherently, right? There's Nobel Prizes for peace and literature. Okay.
She was the first woman ever to win a Nobel Prize and the only person ever to win two. However, the French...
Wait. She won two? How? She's a woman. How does she win one? What are you talking about? Everything's sexist. What?
Academy of Science didn't include her name in the initial nomination, and her husband, Pierre Curie, had to write a letter to the French Academy of Science to get her included.
Oh, okay. But she was included and she did win. So it wasn't just a pity thing, huh? Unless you're saying it was a pity thing. Is that it?
It took 60 years later for a former student of Marie Curie to become the first woman elected to the French Academy of Science.
Elected? Okay. What does one have to do with the other?
Let's take a closer look at what makes up these academies around the world in terms of representation.
Are they representative bodies or are they meritorious bodies? Now, don't get me wrong. I am not going to say, and I would be stupid to say otherwise, that sexism does not exist in the academy in places elsewise and elsewhere. right? Individual people, certain committees, yeah. But times have changed. Nobody's perfect. But you have to present evidence that today the Nobel Prize Committee is sexist. You have to show that there are specific mechanisms that say women shall not pass. And so far, all we've been provided is circumstantial evidence at best, and just declarations of fact without anything to base them on. So,
a study on 63 academies found that on average, they're comprised of about 12% women. And the French Academy of Science that denied Madame Curie her initial nomination is comprised of under 8% women.
Denied her application. How long ago was that? Okay, so all the academies up till today are all sexist misogynists. It's not that women don't pursue science at the same rates as men. It's not a personal choice thing. Women are just inherently perpetual victims of both men and women. Okay.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Scientists that picks the STEM Nobel Prize winners has under 13% women representing it.
It's not a representative process.
And in 2018, for 3 STEM-related fields in physics, chemistry, and medicine, of the committees that were comprised of 6 members, 5 of them were men.
So, the Nobel Prizes should have a gender consideration in the deliberations for award. I mean, that's what you're asking for. If you're asking for representation, then you want to make gender a consideration for the award.
How many people have heard of Francis Crick or James Watson?
I have. I mean, I'm not. How many people? I couldn't say how many people. I have no idea. You'd be better off asking, who here has heard of? But okay, I'm going to say a lot of people. Thank you, Chicago Mike, again. My favorite scientist was the guy in the music video, "She Blinded Me with Science," who wasn't a scientist, but an actor just like Johnny Depp. I don't know if he was just like Johnny Depp, because I don't know his name. But I know Johnny Depp's name, just like I know Watson and Crick.
A few people, yes. So...
Well, a few people in your audience, okay, yes. Okay, a few. See, stop doing straw polls of your audience if you don't know exactly how they're going to respond. So, I not being able to see the audience and just judging her body language and her voice and everything, not everyone in the audience raised their hands. She was expecting everyone or a vast majority of people to raise their hands, and they didn't. Thank you again, Matt Barnes. My favorite scientist is Sir Isaac Newton. Okay. He invented the fig Newton. I'm standing by that story.
They are the joint Nobel Prize winners for
discovering DNA, or at least the most important parts of it, right? Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Finding the structure of DNA.
Yes!
But what most people don't know is that none of this would have been possible without Rosalind Franklin, who did the data collection for their research.
The data collection for their research. Did Rosalind Franklin discover the structure of DNA? Yes or no?
However, her data was shared without her consent, and she was never nominated for the Nobel Prize.
Without her consent. Okay, well, I was under the impression that if you publish something on something into the Academy, it becomes effectively open source. And if she didn't discover the structure of DNA, and Watson and Crick did, based on the research of people that came before them, which, you know, is kind of how science works. I guess my question would be, did she discover the structure of DNA or not? Or did she just collect the data that they were able to use to discover the structure of DNA? I don't know the answer to that question. If that lady was unfairly snubbed or ignored by the Nobel Prize Committee, if she actually discovered the structure of DNA before Watson and Crick and she didn't get credit, okay, that sucks. That shouldn't happen. You'd think that would have been corrected by now. But if the answer to that question is no, thank you, Keeverdam. Without her consent, data rape. Yeah, I know. Without her consent, if I publish a paper into the academy, it becomes public knowledge. It becomes something that someone else can either use or test or dispute or build upon, And if I do that, I should at least cite that person's work. Did Watson and Crick give her no credit in their published work that led up to the Nobel Prize? Did they not cite her data collection research as part of their presentation? If they didn't, then they're jerks too, right? I mean, credit where credit is due. I don't know the answer to that question. That's not what she said, so...
This is something called the masking effect, and it happens all the time. It's the idea that work by women remains shielded by their husbands or by other male colleagues who are represented in the field.
Okay, did Watson and Crick provide no credit to their sources of information leading up to their discovery? If they didn't, then I'm on board, right? If you use someone else's work, even if it's just on a foundationary basis for your own discoveries, you should at least give them credit. Did they or did they not do that? The fact that she didn't receive a Nobel Prize for her contribution, well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because her collecting data does not mean she also discovered the structure of DNA. Now, again, I'm not being facetious. I do not know all the facts behind the story, and our speaker is not giving us all the facts behind the story. So if there was a true injustice done to this lady, then all right. Does that represent all women?
The Matilda effect, which is attributing women's accomplishments to men, we see all the time in the implicit bias of citations and how we view or compare women against men, because women's value is most likely to be attributed to another male that they worked with on the same project.
Most likely? How likely is most likely? Thank you, Hawk Maximus. Not a scientist, not a Nobel Prize winner, but I like Ada Howie, a lady farmer from Wisconsin known for singing to cows and making massively improving dairy farming in the early 1900s. Well, there you go. I mean, there should be a Nobel Prize for farming, agriculture, something like that, right? Or maybe a Nobel Prize. Never mind. I'm terrible. All right.
As of 2018, all but 4 Nobel Prizes awarded to women scientists were shared with men.
All but 4. Well, I mean, did they work with men on the same thing? What?
Which brings up the most amazing point of all, which is we cannot change the Nobel Prize process or the bias within it unless we change the structure.
What is the process? You have to describe the process before I know what it is we're going to fix. Okay, are you going to tell us now, almost 12 minutes into a 13-minute presentation, what specifically the mechanisms within the Nobel Prize structure are flawed that need to be... Keeverdam did it better. The Cowbell Prize. That's so much better. I don't have a stinger for like applause or anything, so I'll just do the... I should really get like an applause thing, or one of those like drunken uncle coming down from heaven, like, heavenly chorus things, something like that. Okay, tell us about the structural problems in the Nobel Prize Committee that you would say need to be reformed.
So I have 2 call-outs for the statutes governing the Nobel Prize.
Okay, all right, finally. Do tell. What are the statutes?
Number one, it's that nominations and deliberations are held secret for 50 years.
Okay. I'm trying to think what the rationale behind that would be, not knowing what the rationale is. Are you going to tell us what their current rationale is for that?
This means in the 1970s or 80s, we don't know what factors were used to compare men and women or what bias was used so that we can correct it now.
So you don't know for a fact that gender was a consideration, but you assume it was. So in the absence of evidence, you're a researcher again? You're promoting the scientific method again? And what was your what were your academic pursuits at this time? Let's remind ourselves. Major in management, concentrating in leadership and innovation and women and gender studies. Okay.
Furthermore, there are 3 winners in each category, which perpetuates the great man theory of science, which kind of makes sense since 97% of STEM Nobel Prize winners have been men.
The what theory of science? Okay, you cannot bring up a theory of science that you haven't already mentioned or described in detail. What was that again? Just in case I want to look this up later, which I probably won't.
70s or 80s, we don't know what factors were used to compare men and women or what bias was used so that we can correct it now. Furthermore, there are 3 winners in each category, which perpetuates the great man theory of science.
The great man theory of science with your air quotes. And you're not going to tell us what that means?
Which kind of makes sense since 97% of STEM Nobel Prize winners have been men.
Okay.
However, science is not an individual field, and due recognition should be given to all contributors.
How? Contributors? Okay, what constitutes a contributor? Right? I mean, if in the course of making a discovery that nets me a Nobel Prize, I use a test tube, do I have to give credit to the company that manufactured the test tube? Do I have to, how far back into the process do I have to go? How minute, how granular do I need to get? What are you talking about? If you're talking about changing the statutes to be more inclusive or more accurate or more credit-worthy or something, you need to say what it is you would change. Like, here is the language as it is currently written. I would change it to this. Okay, so if not 50 years of secrecy, how much time of secrecy would you give? Or would you make the entire thing transparent? And would anything get done? Would every decision not be argued over, controversied, and so on and so forth forever? Would the people making these decisions feel safe in being honest about their opinions at the time with the committee if they knew they were going to be put out on Twitter the next day? Do you have any... Present the rationale currently in place for the things you find a problem with to at least acknowledge what their argument is before you present your counter-argument. Are you going to present a counter-argument? Why am I having to ask these things? I'm an English major. I was not in debate club. I did not structure discussions like this or presentations. I was lousy at these things. But good gravy. Thank you, Hawk Maximus. She is not a great speaker. She is too rapid fire. She might be coming up on the end of her time. I think maybe she didn't judge her time well. And I could kind of understand that, public speaking and everything. But it's not the speed with which she's doing it. It definitely doesn't help. But it's the content. It's the content and the structure and the argumentation. It is lacking all over the place.
If there's a Nobel Prize discovery that had 1,000 scientists on it, how come men are winning over and over again when women and men play equally into the discovery?
Okay, what scientific discovery, what Nobel Prize had 1,000 people working on it? In equitable measure. Which do you have an example? I mean, maybe there is one. I don't know. like a team of 1,000 that ended up in one discovery that only a couple of people got credit for in a Nobel Prize? Who? I can believe it happened. It's not beyond my powers of imagination, but do you have an example?
The process of closing the gender gap in the Nobel Prize process must be actively tackled and owned by the entire scientific community globally and by both men and women.
You need to be specific about what changes you would make. 50 years is too long of a secrecy lock. Okay, how long would you make it? What is your alternative proposal?
There must be an active push to revisit the fielding process for Nobel Prize candidates, and we must proactively nominate women to be Nobel laureates.
Well, there it is. So you want to implement a gender test into the Nobel Prize decision-making process. Proactive nominate women. All right. Well, at least it only took you nearly almost 13 minutes of a 13-minute and 21-second presentation to finally say what you meant. It was a very long and circuitous route to get to the final point. You want there to be a gender filter, an active, discriminatory gender filter in the Nobel Prize selection process. Okay, took a while, but I appreciate your candor.
We've made a lot of progress, but we still have a long way to go.
It doesn't come up often enough to put on the card, but we still have a long way to go, or we still have a lot of work to do, or that kind of thing. Boy, I hear that so often, too.
My talk here did not reinvent the wheel, but instead, it relied on a lot of research from researchers all over the world.
Oh, are you going to give them credit? Are you going to give them all credit now? Are you going to cite your studies? Are you going to give credit to the people who did all the studies and the research that you're relying on to give your presentation? Are you going to spend the next 20 seconds listing off, or at least putting up on the screen, all the names of the people who lent their work to your presentation? I'm being sarcastic right now and thinking that you might, but hey, I'll give you all the credit in the world, ironically enough, if you do that. All right, so the next slide should be a huge bibliography of where you got all your information. Right?
To bring the narrative I did in front of you today. There's a lot of women waiting, and rightfully so, for a chance to be recognized. But the question is, are we going to help them break those barriers?
I don't know. Are you going to list off the names of the people and the institutions and everybody who did all the research that you cited without actually giving a citation? Are you going to do that? Are you going to break the mold?
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you, Hawk Maximus. Again, does she want to force women into STEM or what? Well, she wants the bar of consideration to be lowered to one of the most common denominators between people, and that's their gender. She wants merit research, the quality of work, etc., to be at best a secondary consideration. Because if we have, it's like we've selected 12 candidates for the Nobel Prize. 10 of them are men. Well, guess we're going to have to put some women in there. So 4 of you guys got to go. And I mean guys, literally, goodbye. Now we're going to put women in there who are doing similar work or slightly different work. The work that's not quite to the level that got the first selection, but we have to put... That's what she's asking to have happen. She's asking for token selections. It's one thing to say a system is sexist or there is a sexist suspicion going on in this process. And there may be, I don't know. But then to say, but now I want to implement an active discriminatory filter. Well, you're not promoting a cure to the solution, if that made any sense, which it didn't. But either way. Okay, let's go to the bingo card, because I'm going to stop trying to pontificate intelligently and fail miserably. Okay, so there's the bingo card as we currently have it. I'm going to go over it one more time myself, and then if you have arguments for squares to be circled, hold on to them, and we'll get to your arguments shortly. Sales pitch for product or service? No. If she had brought up an institution, if she'd brought up a place that does polling or surveying or something, then maybe. but no. Childhood and family anecdotes. Surprisingly enough, she never brought up herself, which is also kind of telling. Because at that point, she might actually have to detail her own decision-making process in her own academic career, which would be a bit of a problem. Plays victim. Okay, is she playing victim by extension? Because again, here's the problem. She herself, at least as far as the information that is posted on the video, is not pursuing a career in hard science academia. So she is not actually subject to any of the things she's talking about. She's just complaining about it. So is she playing a victim? Right? And the way that this square is usually handled, it has to be the speaker themselves putting themselves into a victimhood category. But throughout the entire thing, she's talking about other people outside of herself. So I'm going to leave it blank. If you have a good argument elsewise, let me know. Privilege. Yes, I'm going to say that privilege counts because over the course of the thing, she talked about how, surnames versus full names and applications for men were accepted over women with the same credentials. So male privilege is definitely and heavily implied. Contradicts own point or argument several times, especially at the end, and the most glaring one possible, not giving credit to her own sources. I mean, I would have been fine with a very difficult to read slide put up on the screen that listed off all of the studies that she cited and everything else. I'd be fine with that. Even if I couldn't read, at least I know it was there. But she couldn't even do that. Even as she made her last point on that. Couldn't even do that. Marginalization. You think? Do you think in aggregate that being marginalized, it was a theme of this thing? Well, I think so. And consequently, because of that, if you can believe it.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
Give me a bingo.
Silly. One
Bingo.
only, please.
Right?
Yeah!
Oh my gosh. Double bingo on that one. We got 3 bingos so far. Oh boy. All right. Self-vilification or wretchedness. No. Again, she never referred to herself. She never put herself in the pity me category or that she was part of the problem. So if you have an argument for that one, by all means. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. Nope. Not that I saw. She never brought up anything original. Hell, most of what she presented was other people's studies. So there wasn't an original idea or something I like to call or anything like that. Benevolent condescension. Yeah. Yeah, especially when it came to like straw polling her audience as though she knew what they were going to say ahead of time. And then obviously being disappointed when they didn't conform to what she assumed was going to happen. And then anecdote that probably never happened. I'm inclined to go with the 1,000 researchers on a one Nobel Prize thing because she never said. But I don't know. I mean, I could imagine something like that would happen, right? Like, 2 people that led a team of 1,000 people, but they get all the credit. So, I don't know. And was there another anecdote that she brought up? I mean, there were so many hypotheticals and things. I'll leave that one. I'll leave that one to you guys. Okay, so that's the board as I have it. We got a lot covered here. We might have more covered. I don't think we're going to get to a blackout. As close as it might seem, I don't think so. So I'll take arguments for squares to be circled now. If you have an argument, please put it in the chat. Be sure to tag me in your argument so I can get to it. Or even title your argument with the square that you're looking to have filled. Data Wasteland. Scribbles. How about leaves out vital context? I can't even read that there's a square that says that on the board anymore. Let's see. Arguments. Lexi Mads, yeah, Scribelight, the leaky pipeline. I've never heard that before in reference to education and sex. New buzzword, buzz phrase. Do you want to credit that to her? I mean, attempt to coin new buzzword buzz phrase. That square kind of comes out of the white fragility thing, where Robin DiAngelo says white fragility and then bases her whole career off of that, right? She was referencing something else that pre-existed her thing, and she didn't say something she called like the leaky pipeline theory or something. So I'm going to be a stickler here, especially since it comes up to a bingo. I don't think that counts. If you or anyone else wants to try to enhance that argument, by all means. Viewer of Ashmedai, would she be satisfied with separate male and female Nobel Prizes, or would men become trans to keep them for real women? Yeah, well, I mean, that's what she's asking for. That is literally what she was asking for at the end, basically, is that women need to be considered simply on the basis of their genitals first and foremost. Yvonne Solomon, she said we a lot, though, talking about how there is still more progress to be made. I assume we includes her for plays victim. I mean, I guess that does stem off of Collectivize's own demographic. And I suppose since she talked about how all women are, sort of discouraged from going into STEM, that maybe the only reason she's in the studies that she's in is because she herself is also a victim of that same societal and gender role process. That if only earlier in her schooling she had seen a woman achieve something as great as a Nobel Prize, if only there was a woman example of a Nobel Prize winner at the time that she was young to inspire her towards becoming a Nobel Prize winner, or a scientist at least. If only that was the case. But, when she was a kid, there were yeah. Anyway.
Oh, won't somebody please?
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay!
Right?
Another bingo. Thank you, Jaeger Pony. The leaves out vital context square is so densely packed that it collapses in on itself as a singularity, sucking the rest of the card into it, thus a black hole out. Points for creativity. But no. Chicago Mike, did you see my super... Whoa. I may not have. Okay, that must have... I apologize, Mike. That obviously got by me. Scribe has turned into Teal Deer, citation needed. Well, I haven't watched a Teal Deer video in years. Is he still doing... I assume he's still doing YouTube. Man, it's been a long time since I watched any Teal Deer. But yeah, in this case, well, she made it the point. See, I mean, I brought it up earlier, but then she went whole hog into making that an argument of an injustice. And I'm like, okay, well, then be the change you want to see. Where are the citations? Where's the credit? Did I miss any arguments? Let's see. Check your logic. I was hoping Scribe got rid of that one. I haven't heard it in so long. Which one's that? Plays victim? Or I don't know. I need context. John Gamesman, if everyone needed to see someone like them to think they can achieve something, how could anyone achieve anything? Exactly. How was anybody the first at anything? How did Madame Curie win? Or Mary Curie, sorry, Madame Curie. Either way, how did she win a Nobel Prize? There was no women that had won Nobel Prizes before her. There was no women that had done the kind of research she done before her. Like, what? Yeah, that whole thing. It's like my sense of self, my self-esteem is reliant upon the discrimination of role models on the basis of race or gender or sex, whatever. It's silly. It's a silly idea. Mike R. Teal Deer is on BitChute. He canceled his YouTube channel due to YouTube being an absolute... I can believe it. Some of the stuff he covered, I remember he like broke a story on Agi, that it was the female Viagra company or whatever. He broke that story and broke down the ridiculousness of that whole product long before the mainstream media picked it up. I remember that was a big thing he did at the time. I always liked him for that. Matt Barnes, I'd argue self-vilification because as a feminist, she lumps herself in with other women. That's not making herself a villain. Okay, that plays into the plays victim part. Self-vilification or wretchedness is I have a lot to apologize for as a white male. It's like a speaker on the stage saying something like that, like denigrating themselves, right? Categorizing themselves as part of the problem that needs to be solved. She never did that. As far as I can tell. I mean, if somebody's got an argument, again, I'm not going to go much longer because we're coming up on time here. John Miller, Scribelite. She did vilify women as the ones for women and then in the system for not other women getting in. And as she was talking as women in general, she's that's too much of a stretch. That's too much of a stretch. She would have had to say something like, I am guilty of it too. If she had said that, I could get there. But she never did. It's got to be something very specific. And as far as I can recall, she never said that I am guilty of that too. So unless you guys have got a quote for me. Ebony Williams, the most bingos we've had was 4 right. Well, we've had a blackout card before. So we've had all 9 or whatever total number there bingos there are before. So yeah, we've had at least 1 blackout previously. We also had 1 whiteout where like nothing applied. So that's happened. And I'll take a couple more here in case I missed anything. Okay. Oh, yeah, Kiever Dam. Yeah, you got me. Yeah, we had a blackout about a year ago. Yep, and it's still out there. I don't have the link in front of me, obviously. I'm sure somebody here could find it. It was some lady complaining about weight and racism or something, or racism and weight, something like body positivity and race, something like that. I forget. Anyway, let's see. What do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 bingos. That's not too bad. And Scrappy, where does doing something now to make up for lost time come in? Where does doing something now to make up for... Maybe my brain has melted watching this presentation, but I'm not quite sure what you mean. So let me know. And Ensigning Fish. Yeah, it was a body positivity video. I forget the exact title. I can see the thumbnail in my head, but that's about it. Okay, Keeverdam, thank you. Keeverdam has put the link to the blackout video on the board. You can hear me like losing my mind by the end of the presentation, because as every square became relevant, I'm like double checking myself. I'm losing my absolute marbles, getting close to hitting that button. So yeah. Scribelite. Scrappy backs me up on the new buzzword buzz phrase. Scroll up. Okay, let's see. Where does Scrappy say the thing and the stuff? Scrappy, you might want to repost it, because I don't know where it is. Repost your points, and I will consider it. Roger Reynolds, was that Lizzo's talk? No, that wasn't Lizzo's talk. No, that was Lizzo's talk was something. She copyright claimed me on that one. If you watch that one and there are ads, it's not because I'm getting any money for it. That's all going into Lizzo's pockets. So there you go. The whiteout was the spinal repair talk with Monkey? No, I don't think so. No, I remember the whiteout one had the speaker was female, and the spinal repair thing was a male scientist. A male scientist. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk, for the My Hero Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Whoa wee. Whoa whoa.
Oh, Dogcat Fox. Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk. I think I'm going to wrap things up, guys. Because I think that's it. And even if there's 1 or 2 squares still there, okay, sales pitch for product or service, she never did. Childhood or family anecdote, she never talked about herself. Self-vilification, Again, if she had said, I am guilty of this too or something in the process, I could possibly see that, but she didn't. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. The leaky pipe theory. I know she didn't come up with that herself, and B, I've heard that elsewhere, something similar. So yeah, I'm not going to give her credit for that. An anecdote that probably never happened. See, now that one, there's got to be something in there that she brought up because all the studies and everything, but it's hard to say. It's difficult to say. So I'm going to leave it there. If there's controversy because of this, scrappy. I think she did say what I call the leaky pipeline. Okay. There are 2 bingos at stake. If I don't, at least... Okay, does anybody remember where she said that? That's the biggest problem here. If I'm going to go back to double check this, man, it's going to be a crapshoot. I mean, I'd rather do it live, but I might have to do it in absentia or something or after the fact, because I don't know if I can parse through this entire video in 3 seconds to wrap this up, or else make this into like a much longer presentation. Did she say something I call? That's the question. Man. Jaeger Pony. Don't miss out on Scribelight's new stream, Vital Context with Scribelight, coming to a YouTube near you soon. Yeah. Did she say something I call, or did she just say... It's fine if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure she said it because I was listening for it. Okay. Well, those of you watching in the future who have had enough of me talking, you can just, stop watching now. But for the sake of completion, and to make sure that I'm not called out for being too hasty or incorrect, I'm going to difficultly attempt, parse through this. Okay.
Last year, clear that there wasn't a... Using the Nobel Prize organization as my measure, entry for women, it's important to note that my understanding of how we got to where we are, STEM experiences, development, when gender socialization begins gravitating away from STEM, understand how female and male gender roles and skills in relationship development, or in status and financial gain. How many people have heard the stereotype that girls aren't good at math? Researchers have disputed them. A professor of ethics named Mary Feeney at the University of Cognitive Inability, but because of girls and women avoid STEM University of Arizona said that studies show that girls and women avoid STEM education not because of their cognitive inability, but because of brilliance, when men, while men these stereotypes, internalize these that widens the interest of widens the interest gap in STEM is parental and peer influence. Access to and exposure to activities support their competencies, predict not good at a particular STEM subject, and don't enforce support, there is a negative correlation to the child's performance in the classroom. In a 2017 study, researchers sought to understand how peers could be a source of both exclusionary and inclusionary peers. Display side, exposure to higher peers applied gender stereotypes to chemistry in London in 2006, sought to see how these stereotypes kind of penetrate into the university experience. In a focus group of women doctoral students, however, when revisiting that same focus group 3 years later...
Okay, this is going to be ridiculous, guys. This is going to be ridiculous. I thought maybe I could just accidentally drop on it, but I'm not going to keep going. I apologize. If she said something I like to call, then after the fact, we can add 2 more bingos to the card. That's the best I can do. That's the best I can do. If somebody here can find a timestamp in the next couple minutes, by all means. But otherwise, I'm going to call it here. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this amazingly granular and analyzed and researched TED Excellence. Again, programming note, I will not be doing a Sunday stream Sunday morning this weekend because Sister Scribe and I will be going off to visit our parents, and I will be absent that morning. So by all means, looking forward to seeing you the next time. Might do a stream Sunday later on in the day about something. I don't know yet. But if you want to find out ahead of time, follow me on Twitter. I will let you guys know one way or the other that day. Thank you, Ebony Williams, for the oh so happy dog cat fox. Oh, dog cat fox.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, dog cat fox. Thank you, Ebony. But with that, be sure to join me next Thursday for another episode of TED Excellence, where I'll once again take a look at another off-brand TED Talk. And also Wednesday morning, coming Wednesday, probably around 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern, I'll be doing my final review of the final episode of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and probably tearing my hair out in the process. But hey, if you find that entertaining, then find it on here. Also, and I forgot to do this, of course, at the top of the chat box, if you'll please take a look at the GoFundMe links there for Shady Grin, Angry Illinoisian, and his kitten. They, their family, and their friends could certainly use your help if you have a couple of bucks to spare. But with that, everybody, again, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated, thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. We've gotten through it together. Maybe we learned something, maybe we didn't, or at least you learned how to put on a better presentation than our speaker, perhaps. But with that, everybody, hope you all have a good rest of your Thursday. Hope you have a good rest of your week and weekend. I'll be off and running, but I will see you guys Sunday or Wednesday at the earliest. I hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.